and administrative cases against the officials of DepEd and PS-DBM to include the following. 1 count of violation of Section 3E of Republic Act Number 3019, otherwise known as the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, against the following officials of the Department of Education. 1. Former Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua. 2. Undersecretary Annalyn M. Sevilla. 3. Former Assistant Secretary Salvador C. Malana III. 4. Director Abram Y. C. Abanil. The following officials of the Procurement Service and the Department of Budget and Management. 1. Former OIC Executive Director Lloyd Christopher A. Lau. 2. Former OIC Executive Director Jason Mer L. Uwayan. 3. BAC Chairman Ulysses E. Mora, as well as the other members of SBAC 1 and SBAC TWG and Secretariat, whether from DepEd or from PS-DBM. Number 4, Engineer Marwan O. Amil. And principals, representatives, and agents of the joint venture consortium partners or other private parties who may have concluded and or conspired as supported by competent evidence with the above-mentioned officials. In addition, the following actions are recommended. Number 1, the administrative and disciplinary investigations for multiple counts of grave misconduct, serious dishonesty, gross neglect of duty, and conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service be likewise initiated against the aforementioned senior officials of the Department of Education and the Procurement Service of the Department of Budget and Management as may be applicable. Number 2, that the Commission on Audit issue notices of disallowance for the overprice in the purchase of the laptops in the total amount of at least 979 million pesos against the following officials of the Department of Education. Undersecretary Annalyn M. Sevilla, former Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua, former Assistant Secretary Salvador C. Malana III. Number 3, on the basis of Presidential Decree Number 1445, otherwise known as the Government Auditing Code of the Philippines, that civil complaints be initiated against the following officials and personnel of the Department of Education, as well as against officials of the Procurement Service of the Department of Budget and Management to collect and recover the value of the overprice in the amount of at least 979 million pesos, including accrued interest and damages, and that they be held jointly and solidarily liable therefor. Number 1, Undersecretary Annalyn M. Sevilla, former Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua, former Assistant Secretary Salvador C. Malana III, former OIC Executive Director Lloyd Christopher A. Lau, former OIC Executive Director Jason Mer L. Uwayan, and other DepEd and PS-DBM officials that may be shown by competent evidence to be responsible for government funds or uses of government property in violation of law and relevant regulations. Finally, let a copy of this committee report be furnished the Department of Education, the Department of Justice, the Office of the Ombudsman, the Commission on Audit, the Anti-Money Laundering Council, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the Office of the Solicitor General, and the Bureau of Immigration for their information and appropriate action including but not limited to the conduct of preliminary investigation and administrative adjudication, a special fraud audit, a tax compliance review of a tax fraud audit, legal action to recover proceeds of corruption, and an investigation of possible money laundering activities of public officials identified in this investigation if the law and evidence so warrants, as well as the issuance of the proper Immigration Lookout Bulletin Orders or ILBO against those concerned when necessary and as provided by law and existing regulations.
Of the committee report would mention how the former secretary may have unwittingly approved the new parameters which increase the price and decrease the quantity of laptops to be purchased. Nagamit po siya sa wikang Tagalog.
Sir, pero yung legal liability, wala siya.
Sa ebidensya po lumabas, wala. Base po sa ebidensya. Iba po yung spekulasyon, iba po yung haka-haka, iba naman po yung lumabas sa hearing. Lahat po ng ginawa natin ay base po sa ebidensya at base po sa batas. Pero kung meron po tayong sariling spekulasyon o haka-haka, isa-isang tabi muna natin yon.
979 million na dapat ibalik. Paano po yun? To be collected? Paano yung magiging procedure?
Nasa sandigan bayan na po yan kung paano po makukuha po yan. Pero siguro ang isang mainam na tanong, uunahan ko na kayo, baka walang magtanong. Paano po na-compute yung 979? Ang exact figures po noon ay 979,359,873.74. Meron pong computation po dito, base po sa mga dokumento. Nagsimula po ito sa dokumentong yung sales invoice, yung dokumento na lumabas po sa final receipt, at yung dokumento rin po na nagpapatunay ng actual na presyo, kung saan pasok naman po yung reasonable allowable profit of 15%, at lumalabas po na malaki po yung overprice. Ulitin ko po, liliwanagin ko. Yung salita pong overprice ay nanggaling sa Commission on Audit. Ilang beses po nilang paulit-ulit na sinabi, base po sa kanilang COA report at doon sa testimonya ng dumalo po sa mga hearings na merong overprice. Hindi po sa committee nagsimula yung salitang overprice, yung po ay nanggaling sa Commission on Audit. Pero meron po tayong computation kung bakit po umabot sa 979,000 plus. Nakakuha rin po tayo ng dokumento galing po doon sa bill of lading sa People's Republic of China kung ano talaga yung halaga ng laptop. So, nandito po lahat yan. Ilalatag namin po yan dito kung gusto nyo tingnan mamaya. Iiwan ko po yan dito. Pwede nyo silipin, maging yung signed copy ng committee report number 19. Kasi baka ang tanong naman ng iba, sino yung nakalagda. Titingnan nyo na lang yan. Hindi ko na babanggitin. 12 senators signed. 11 senators voted for this report. 1 dissented. The identities, probably the records will just show.